Adam West is Batman. Weekdays at 4.
Now, live from the studios of 1290 WHIO, your chance to take part in the Miami Valley's only midday radio talk forum. 1290 WHIO and Television 7 proudly present this simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the simulcast part of the Mike Scinto Show. Mike Scinto is taking the week off. I'm John Rapp. My pleasure to sit in for you this week. I do a regular talk show from 11 to 1 o'clock on Sundays on 1290 WHIO. Co-hosting with me this morning is Don Mills, a familiar face from Television 7, and our guest is Bob Siller, agent in charge of the Dayton FBA office. So for our television viewers, good morning, Bob.
Good morning to you.
I'm going to start and ask the same kind of question that I did in the radio segment, and that is if you would just give us an overall assessment of where we are with the war on drugs. That seems to be what's on everyone's mind, and I'd like you to run that by for our television audience, if you would.
Well, I think that we are making progress in the war on drugs. I think especially when you look at it in certain communities. Certain communities, obviously, we're having more of a difficult time, and those are the communities of import, such as Florida, California, New York, and those areas. But when you look at the Dayton area, Miami Valley area, and you look at the community involvement, that can make a difference, and we are stabilizing and making progress on drugs. We're not there, and we're a long way from being there, and I don't want to overstate that, but we are making some progress. We have effective law enforcement cooperation. We're formalizing task force in the various counties, and what I'm particularly impressed with is the community involvement, such as the concerned Christian men's involvement in certain communities. I was looking at the paper the other day, and I saw the Oxford Avenue citizens involved in it. We need more of that. I would encourage them to even take it beyond that by identifying, and this is throughout the area, identifying any merchants or stores that are selling any type of drug paraphernalia, and approach those merchants and do things that are necessary to eliminate the drug paraphernalia in those stores.
Interesting you would mention that, because there was a news story earlier on the efforts of a local church to get involved in trying to fight drugs, and that was a question I was going to ask you is, you know, is this a worthwhile thing? Can groups like that do some good?
They definitely can. They bring a message to the community. They downplay the role modeling of the drug distributor, and they can make a difference by educating people that drugs are bad. The thing that's important is drugs are not bad because they're illegal. They are illegal because they're bad, and that's the message that they need to bring across to our young people.
What about investigations here in the Miami Valley? We have, of course, the city police departments. We have the county sheriff's office. We have the FBI. Do you all work in concert? Does it take that now? Because I assume that the drug cases crossed county lines, most of the time state lines, things like that. How much of a combined effort is it here in the Miami Valley?
Well, there's a concentrated effort on increasing the combined effort, and there is a task force, a cane unit is a result of police departments getting together and pooling their resources, and they're very effective. Greene County has a task force. Clark County has a task force. The federal agencies sometimes have different roles and missions, and the delicate balance is always to coordinate those efforts. I think it's being accomplished here, and I think it's being effective.
When you go on these raids, you and I have I've been out covering stories when FBI agents have done raids and things like that. One subject we haven't talked about is the so-called assault rifles. What kind of firepower are you coming up against when you're doing drug raids here in the area?
Well, it's no doubt that the firepower is just tremendous compared to what it used to be. When I first joined the FBI approximately 16 years ago, it was a Saturday night special, and you may remember back when that was a lot of attention given to that. It is rare that when you apprehend anyone, that they have a weapon such as Saturday Night Special. They have semi-automatic handguns, 9mm. They will have assault rifles, and it's almost without exception, any raid that you go on, you just know and you find those type of weapons there.
And if you're just joining us, let me tell you what's going on here. I'm John Rapp, sitting in for Mike Scinto this week. Our co-host is Don Mills. Our guest in studio is Bob Siller. He's the agent in charge of the Dayton FBI office, and we're right here. We're going to take a little break and tell you how you can participate in the Mike Scinto Show on TV7 and 1290 radio.
You can take part in the Mike Scinto Show by calling 457-1290 or toll-free anywhere in Ohio, 1-800-345-1290.
And you are listening to the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO and Television 7. I'm John Rapp, sitting in for Mike this week, who's taking a few days off. Co-hosting with me, Don Mills from Channel 7, and Bob Siller, agent in charge of the Dayton FBI office. We seem to have a lot of people that want to talk to you, Bob, so let's go to the phones, and let's say hello first to Peg. Hi, Peg.
Good morning, John.
How are you?
Fine. Good morning, Mr. Siller.
Good morning, Peg.
I'd like to know how FBI agents could possibly lose 78 pieces of evidence, including police files and tape recordings, after these have been seized by your agents from the home of one of our local businessmen who was being investigated for tax evasion. How is that physically possible to lose that much evidence?
Well, I would like to comment on that, but I can't because, as you know, Peg, that particular case is still in trial. And we're waiting on, in fact, we're waiting on that particular person to go to before a judge. I think at that time, and the correct vehicle for bringing out those type of questions and discussions would be in Judge Rice's court. I would like very much to comment on that, and perhaps when that trial is over, either through this channel or you can come down to the office, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. But at this particular time, I cannot.
Okay, I'll contact you after it's over.
Thank you. You do that.
Okay, Peg, thanks very much for calling. Let's go now to Les, who's calling from a payphone. Hi, Les.
Yes, I've heard several rumors bannered about the scale of money involved just in drug sales in Montgomery County. Now, I've heard about $430 million in Montgomery County a year. Is that accurate, sir?
I don't know how you can measure that unless you knew you had an accountant that kept the records for all the drug dealers. I can say this, that the drug trafficking in this area is very lucrative, and we seize a lot of money, but to put an exact figure on it, I don't have that information available.
Well, sir, let me ask you this. Now, the classic places that organized crimes invest their funds, of course, the classic are judges and politicians. But where else in this area is organized crime putting its money? How is it laundering it?
That's an interesting question.
Well, if you're speaking of narcotics, or if you're speaking in crime in general, let's just take narcotics. Narcotics obviously encourage corruption, public corruption, and that's one of the evils of that crime. I wouldn't say that all the money or the profits from narcotics go to corruption. I think it goes into the pockets of the violators, and they in turn try to launder that money through real estate, legitimate businesses, and what have you. And there are forfeiture laws that will allow us to take these properties, and we do that. We start every narcotics investigation with the full intention of seizing property. We do that equally the same way we would trying to arrest a person. So we have that in mind, and we attempt to do that. But the money, the majority of it is not going to corruption, public corruption. It's going to legitimate businesses and property. And that undermines our economy, which, again, is another evil of narcotics. Keep this in mind. One of the reasons why crime, I personally feel, and definitely in this area, in the Miami Valley, why crime has increased is because of narcotics. Now, it's easy to say that, but keep this in mind. For every person that commits a crime, if that person is involved in narcotics, he will commit 4 to 6 times as many crimes as a person who is not involved in narcotics committing a crime. So it's obvious to you that if you could eliminate a lot of the demand and this distribution for narcotics, you can eliminate crime across the board.
Okay, Les, thank you very much for calling, and let's go to another line and say hi to James, a first-time caller. Hi, James.
Morning.
Go ahead, you're on the air.
Okay. Agent?
Yes, go ahead, James.
some things you said earlier answered some of my questions, but the main thing is I think that that these drug pushers and the people that have these homes and rent these homes, if they don't live in them and rent somebody else, I think it should be mandatory what happens to them. Now, it seems to me that they're worried more about, now, don't misunderstand me, I don't applaud a drunken driver, but it seems like...
I hope not.
No, I don't. But it seems like to me that they mandatory, they're harder on drunken drivers than they are these people that deal in these drugs. Now, the thing I do say this, now, these addicts will go out here and they will kill their mother, their father, you know what happens, brother, sister, anybody, to get a fix for the money or anything they can for drugs. But the thing of it is, people that go out here, and some of these people that drink, don't go in homes and rob people or take your possessions or take a family member or anybody else to get them a bottle of booze. But I think that they should be more mandatory on what happens to these drug dealers and the homes that have these drugs. This morning early, I mowed my lawn, and a fellow came in the area, and I knew he didn't belong in this area. He was dirty and had his shirt open, and there was ladies standing on the corner just up a few feet from me waiting for a bus. And he looked at them, and my sister lives across the street, and I went across to take her trash barrel that rolled around the back for her, and he approached me, and he spoke, and he confronted me, and I knew he looked suspicious, and he asked me for money, and I knew that he was a drug addict. And see, these are the things.
But what did you do?
The thing of it is, I told him that I didn't have any money, and he turned around, and he walked on down the street. But I think if the...
You might have been lucky. It doesn't always end that way, does it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I confronted him. I watched him. And the thing of it is, I was in a meeting with the Dayton police chief here 3 or 4 weeks ago on some of this stuff. And the thing of it is, I think if they would work closer to the people that are down in, you know, that's involved in these things and know about these things, I think it would be a big help to them and you and everybody else.
Okay, and James, we got to run. You're listening to Mike Scinto live on Television 7 and 1290 WHIO Radio. We'll take a little break here in the action right now and come back to your calls right after this on the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO and the facilities of Television 7. And you are listening to the Mike Scinto Show on Television 7 and 1290 WHIO. I'm John Rapp, sitting in for Mike this week, co-hosting Don Mills from Television 7. Our guest, Bob Siller, agent in charge of the Dayton FBI office. And we got a lot of people that want to talk to you, so let's go to the phones and say hi to Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi. I was wanting to know from the FBI man, okay, what or when are they going to do something at the Dayton metropolitan housing areas? And, I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about it, but I know some Dayton metropolitan housing, nothing is being done. Okay? And one in particular that I'm speaking of is Triangle View. It's over on the corner of Ridge and Embry Park Drive. And the drug traffic there is just unreal. And the guns are unreal. Okay? And people are terrified over there.
They have started some things over there. They have started using the trespassing laws effectively over there. And the last time I did a story about it, I think they had thrown out about 400 people out of there that ostensibly were there to sell narcotics. But maybe you can tell me something else that's going on there.
Well, they're still dealing, and it's still going on locally. I mean, right there, day and night. And if anybody would go in with like a television camera into one of the apartments and set for a couple nights, you would not believe the money and the drug traffic.
I don't want to be the camera operator.
Of course, I'm not. Maybe you can explain those jurisdictional type things too. That's really a city type of investigation.
Yeah, it is more of a city type investigation, and I know, and I appreciate your concern and wanting this problem to be resolved. But I know the police department is making an effort to eliminate that. They're very conscious of it. Perhaps they're not doing as much as you would like for them to do, but they are aware of it.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see them do a little more before more people are lost. I mean, children, little kids.
I agree.
Kids are being brought in. Children are being brought in, you know, from other areas. And just heard their lives are being totally ruined.
Okay, Jeannie, thanks for your call. Nice to talk to you. And let's go to Carol. Almost missed that. Let's go to Carol.
Good morning. Yes, I just heard Jeannie, and she's so right because I'm in Summit Courts. We have children dealing. These guys are making 2 tons of money. But I mentioned something about community service. They talk about the overcrowding of the jails. Give them community service work with this new van that they got. If you're not home by a certain time, computer tells it. Make them clean these areas up. Because you're overcrowding jails with little people, but they're doing nothing about the people that are bringing the drugs over here because the little people don't own no planes or boats.
Well, you know, what you're saying is exactly true. However, this is where a lot of the community involvement and awareness and educating people has to come in. You can't put every user in jail. But I totally agree with you, and I can't emphasize how serious I am about this. If a person distributes drugs, then I think we ought to be as severe as we could possibly be. He or she consciously made that choice to want to make money that way and to want to live that way, and they must pay a price for doing that, because their deeds result in exactly what you're saying. It destroys our communities, it undermines our economy, and whether they understand what they're doing at the time or not, I really don't care. They just shouldn't distribute drugs, and if they're going to do that, then we need to put them away. And that's what law enforcement can do and the courts can do. Now, as far as the users and the people you're talking about, a lot of that has to be resolved with community awareness and educating people and making sure that our kids, when they're faced with this decision, know the right choice.
What about, Bob, we were talking on the radio portion about drug cases here in the Miami Valley, and you had indicated perhaps that we needed some more resources here in the Miami Valley as far as from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Explain that to me. Do we have the resources to prosecute the drug cases that need to be prosecuted here?
Well, the Dayton FBI office has investigations now of major dealers that should be taken before the court system. Those investigations are basically completed. They're kind of in a holding pattern simply because we do not have a full-time narcotics prosecutor. Cincinnati has a full-time narcotics prosecutor. Columbus has a full-time narcotics prosecutor. And my position allows me to see the type of investigations that go on in those cities, and they're no more important or significant than the ones that we have here. Yet we do not have a full-time narcotics prosecutor. The United States Attorney, Mr. Michael Kreitz, has to address that issue, and we need one here to be more effective, to fight crime. You know, we encourage others to do their part, and we need to do our part.
And we're taking we need to take a little break here on the action. Sorry about that. We'll take a little break here and be back on the other side with more of the Mike Scinto Show, coming to you live from the studios of from Radio 1290 and the facilities of Television 7. And we're back on the Mike Scinto Show. I'm John Rapp, sitting in for Mike this week. Bob Siller, in charge of the Dayton office of the FBI, with us. My co-host, Don Mills. And we're talking about crime and drugs and good stuff like that. Let's go to the phones, our long-distance line, and let's travel up to Wapakoneta and say hi to Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi there. I really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
Yes, I was wondering why Cuba can get the death sentence, and they say don't get caught with drugs in Turkey. But why are our courts so hesitant to come down as hard as they are on the same dealers?
Well, we do have laws now that you can get the death sentence involved in certain type of drug trafficking. The laws are on the books that will permit us to put people away for a long time. We just have to do that. I'm not really certain if we need new laws to give us longer sentences. We just have to use the ones that we have.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, these major drug dealers shouldn't even get a life sentence. They should get the death sentence because in actuality they are committing murder.
I agree. There's a lot of people that will agree with you on that, and I definitely think that their activities destroy lives. There's no question about it, and I totally agree with you. Now, I don't know if I agree that they should get the death sentence. It depends on what they're doing. But I agree with you when you say that they destroy lives. They definitely do that.
Well, the thing that gets me really the most is all these drugs coming out of Colombia, and we're still giving as a nation, financial support to these people, and why don't they cut off the financial support to the nation?
You know, that's you just touched on perhaps the single best way to eliminate drugs, simply because 95% of all cocaine comes from South America, and you can pretty much name 1 or 2 countries, and you can pretty much fly over and see it growing in the fields. It is a situation, as you pointed out, that needs addressing, and I think that that's being handled, but of course that's a White House and State Department decision.
And Marilyn, we got to run.
Okay,
let's try to get one more here. Let's say hi to David real quick, less than a minute, David.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Sellers. I'd like
Good morning.
to commend you on the work that's been done by your office and the local police departments. But one of the earlier callers touched upon that none of the local people have planes, boats, and what have you to transport or to distribute or set up some of these elaborate drug networks. Does your office really get involved in some of the larger pushers, as I call them, in apprehending and investigating these people, because they're the ones who are hurting the youngsters and the middle people on the street?
Okay, Bob, can you give us a real quick answer here to his question, because we've got just a little bit of time.
Well, thank you for your comments, and we are getting involved in that. We, in this area, my office, attempt to identify the major distributors in this area, and we go after them. And we go after them in cooperation with the police department. And we try to take them off one by one. You had the Hawthorne group, and that group, we took them off. Stevenson's group, and there are some current groups that we're after right now. And we are making an effort, and we do identify them the way you said.
And we're out of time here, gentlemen.
Goes
Don?
fast.
It does go fast. A lot of callers still hanging on, but that's what happens when you have a nice television audience, okay? Bob, thank you so much for coming in and taking
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Enlightening us a little bit on what's going on. We'll be back on the other side with a continuation of the radio part of the Mike Scinto Show. I'm John Rapp, sitting in for Mike this week. Don't go away. I'll be back right after the news.
This simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show was a presentation of 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Join us tomorrow morning for another exciting guest and conversation. The Mike Scinto Show can be heard weekdays from 9 till 1 on AM 1290 WHIO.